Hi, I'm Maria Thea Harris-Silvello Sews on social media. Welcome back to Sew Over 50 podcast on Sew Organised Style. Grab a cuppa and relax with us.
I just got totally inspired. I think the first dress I really made was the Style Arc Hope dress, and that was all right. And I started an Instagram account and I put it on there, and I got some feedback. Oh, this is all right.
That's Maxine, who you'll find on Instagram at Dunn Corner. We recorded this podcast together in May, so please have a look at Maxine's account to see what a great time she had at Christchurch Frock Tales. A big thank you to the podcast Patreon supporters. I hope you'll join them. Go to patreon.com/Sew Organised Style. That's organised with an S to join them in supporting the running of Sew Organised Style podcast. Let's listen to Maxine now. Hi, Maxine.
Oh, kia ora, Maria. How are you?
Good, Kira. Back to you as well. That's wonderful. Have you been talking to people remotely for a while now?
Well, I finished work 18 months ago, and I spent so much time on Zoom meetings and Skype meetings then. But since then, no. If I'm talking to family, we tend to use WhatsApp.
Yeah.
But anyway, here we are. This is great.
It's lovely to have you on the podcast today.
Thank you for asking me. I'm very honoured to be part of this.
I'm always pleased when people from the sewing community say yes to coming on the podcast, because we connect together a lot on Instagram and all the other social media.
Yes.
Well, if you get the chance to talk face to face, whether it's online or in real life, it's just so much fun.
Oh, it is. I went to the Christchurch Frock Tales last year, which was the first time it had been held. And Christchurch is a sort of 5-6 hour journey from where I live in Nelson.
Mm-hmm.
It was so worth it to catch up with people from the South Island of New Zealand who I do, talk to and message and give feedback on their posts. It was very special.
When the Frock Tale organisers start putting out, save the date, it's always like, okay, then you've got to go through your head all the various bits and pieces to get yourself there.
Yes, it's not a 5-minute journey.
Do you make a whole weekend of it?
Yes, our son lives in Christchurch with his wife. We'll go down and stay with them. So it's nice. It's a double special thing happening then.
Oh, lovely. When you got ready for Frock Tales, did you make something new?
I did make something new. In fact, it was very special. My daughter's a designer. She designs book covers. But when I told her about Frock Tales, she said, I'll design some fabric for you.
Right.
So she made this lovely design in colours I love, greens and golds, and got it printed on a cotton sateen. And I made a dress out of that.
I'll have to get that photo onto the blog post for this podcast so people can have a look.
It was very special that she did that.
What are your plans this time around, or are they secret at the moment?
I am going to make another Luli dress, which is one of the Papercut Pattern dresses. And I've got some beautiful green drapey tencel fabric. I'll do that. I don't know about my body shape and drapey fabric, because I tend to use linens and cottons and those sorts of fabrics. But you don't try, you don't know.
That's right. And it's going to be cold.
Yes.
So try anything, because it's just another layer.
It is. It is.
Do you make a lot of Papercut pattern outfits?
I do, Maria. I think because Papercut Patterns is based here in Nelson, and Katie doesn't mind if I pop into the studio and see what she's working on, what she's designing. I really like her style, and I found that once you find a designer who you understand their instructions and you feel that their clothes are designed for your body shape as well as other body shapes. So I've stuck with a lot of her patterns because they work for me.
People can see all of the Papercut pattern clothes that you've sewn for such a long time now.
I have, and I'm actually wearing a pair that I've finished this morning of the new Sierra pants, and they are so comfortable because I'm short and I'm round, finding something that fits and is comfortable. And I've never made jeans. I've always been a bit scared of making jean like trousers, thinking, it probably won't work out, but these do. I've got 2 pairs now, the barrel-legged ones, and this morning I finished the straight-legged ones. These are denim. They're black denim, and I don't know what I was thinking, but I thought I'd use white top stitching thread.
Yeah.
And every stitch is so obvious. There was a little bit of unpicking going on and a little bit of, that'll be all right going on. I was pleased with how it turned out in the end, how they looked, but I think if I was doing it again, I'd just use black.
Really?
Hmm. I'm a bit over sewing denim now. I'm ready for a different fabric.
Okay.
Yes.
I think one of the things I've tried to do is if I'm not quite sure about the top stitching thread and my ability to make sure that it works right, is
Yes.
I'll get maybe a darker version of the same color, something that's not as obvious, but
Mm.
you've picked white on black, and that's just stunning and so classic.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes. I think I'm going to get a lot of wear.
Do you get snow where you live?
Not down on the ground where we are. It gets cold, but it's not anything like further south in the South Island of New Zealand, where Queenstown and Glenorchy and places get lots of snow. Mm.
So, Maxine, where can we find you online?
So I'm at Dunn Corner, and that comes from when the children were little. They loved Winnie the Pooh and Pooh Corners, and we lived on a corner section, so we're Dunn Corner.
Have you had labels made with Done Corner on them to put on your clothes?
No, but my daughter made some labels for me, which say Maxine Dunn Couture, if you mind. So I feel a bit, she said, couture just means you make things, Mum. I said, it sounds a bit pretentious to me, but I sew them into some of the things I make and it makes her happy.
That's really lovely.
Hmm.
Did you learn to sew at school?
I did. I learned way back in, I guess, the 70s and did my sewing at school and then continued sewing. And when I was in my 20s, you'd go out in the morning, buy some fabric, sew it up during that day and wear it out on a date at night. Oh, I don't know how nicely the seams were done. But then as I got older and rounder and busier, I just found clothes, I'd make things and they didn't really work. So I'd sew for the children, but I wasn't sewing for myself for many, many years. And then we've got all these wonderful indie pattern designers who make patterns that work, all sorts of shapes and sizes. And I just got totally inspired. I think the first dress I really made was the Style Arc Hope dress. And that was all right. And I started an Instagram account and I put it on there and I got some feedback. Oh, this is all right. And then I made another one. And I guess it just went from there. That was about 2020. And then 18 months ago, I finished work and I needed a different sort of wardrobe. So I've replaced a lot of what I wore to work with things I really like to wear.
Yeah. So you're not restricted now to making sure that you look a certain way during the day and yourself on weekends and after work anymore.
Yes, some days I walk the dog, come home and think I'm going to put something tidy on, and other days I stay in my dog walking clothes, and it really doesn't matter.
That's right. Because you walk the dog, have you sewn anything specific for when you're outdoors?
That's a good question. I've made some stretchy leggings to wear with pockets because, dog treats and those sorts of things. And I've made a couple of jackets that are quite cozy, but I haven't made something specific. I've looked at a couple of patterns, but I've still got clothes I can wear. So I don't want to make things just for the sake of making it. I did a lot of that when I first got back into sewing. It was so excited and I can make things. But now I'm trying to be a little bit more thoughtful about what do I really need and what would be useful and what fabric have I got in my stash that I could use.
That sounds very sensible.
Hmm.
And when did you discover the Sober 50 community on Instagram?
I think it was about the time I made the Hope dress because I was looking at patterns and looking what the dress looked like on other people. And then I kept seeing this hashtag #SewOver50 popping up because I think I was relating to people who looked similar age to me and wearing that sort of garment. And I thought, what is this #SewOver50? So I investigated and signed up.
Oh, good.
Mm-hmm.
In the month of May, because we're unofficially on holidays on Sober 50, what we've tried to do in stories is feature people who have smaller accounts, so under 1,000 followers.
And I've been watching them. It's fabulous. And you even featured me today, which was lovely.
My pleasure. And I think it's lovely to be able to, while we're on holidays, in inverted commas, we still pop in a couple of times a day and look for the smaller accounts because there are 49,000 followers, but everyone's important. So that was our aim for May. We thought, no, look, we need to support everybody and the smaller ones because you get overlooked on Instagram. Let's just try and find them and put them up there.
Yes, and I've seen a few of them and I've thought, I'm going to follow them. But I do look at, I follow the hashtag and I like to see what people are making and just that they're visible, that we're seeing sewers of all age groups.
Exactly.
Through popping into the studio, it really opened my eyes into how much work goes into designing a pattern. It's not just drawing a shape and seeing if it will turn out 3D. It's a lot of work, and they cut it and recut it and reshape it, and on the mannequin, off the mannequin. How does that fall? How does that look? And from the concept to it being designed, and this isn't just Papercut Patterns, I know it would be all designers, there's so much going on to make these lovely indie patterns that we're enjoying.
I think it's quite lovely that you're able to pop into the studio while they're doing their work.
It's basically Katie, and she sometimes has one other person helping her. So she's basically a one-man band or a one-woman band and coming up with fabulous designs.
Yeah.
If you look at the Novacoat hashtag, thousands of people have made it.
I've made probably 2 or 3 Papercut Patterns now, and I do appreciate the shapes that she uses. I mean, I don't have much of a waist anymore, but I still use a couple of them that do define a waist for that very reason, because they're thoughtfully done.
And I think that was with the Luli dress. I made it. Then I looked at people putting pictures up of who've made it. And I actually think, that looks better on a curvy body than a slim body.
Yeah. It's got a defined waist.
It has.
Yep. And the sleeves they've got a bit of shape.
Yes. The skirt is cut on the bias, so it drapes nicely.
And
a side zip.
Okay.
I think it would suit you, Maria.
I think it would too.
The stacker jacket is a sort of shorter jacket, yes. So I made one in a lightweight denim, which I've worn and worn and worn. And so I've just finished one in a green boiled wool.
Oh.
With the lining that my daughter designed. I got some printed off in satin and lined this jacket with satin, and it's just amazing. I'm really thrilled with it.
Maxine, I think you've got a lot of people around you who encourage you to develop clothing that is really designed for you, like the fabric and the patterns and everything.
Yeah, I feel well supported. But I sew for them as well. I think I mentioned one of the proudest things I've made is a 1940s bomber jacket, the Amelia jacket for my daughter. And it was 1940s style of sewing it together too. So it was lots of hand stitching and a fur collar. And she's tall and slim and she looks fantastic in it. I think she'll wear it for years and years, but it really was a labour of love, that one.
By her mum?
By her mum, yes.
Oh.
With the label Maxine Dunn Couture inside that one.
That's lovely.
I enjoy sewing for other people as well as for myself. I get pleasure out of seeing friends and family wear something I've made for them. I mean, if somebody was to ask me, will you make this for me? I might say no. But if I want to make something for somebody, that's different, I think.
Yeah.
If somebody asks me, I'll say, no, I won't make it, but you can come along and I'll help you learn how to sew it.
Oh, good response.
It's good to be able to pass those skills on.
Yeah. Have you sewn for the men in your life before?
Yes, so I've made my son a few things, and I've made my husband a few things, and my daughter's partner a jacket and a few things too. Most of them have had a hoodie from me, the Cloud hoodie from the fabric store. I must have made about 8 of those, and I've made my husband undies, boxers, which he wears. Don't tell him I said so. From lovely fabric that I've got here in New Zealand. That's been good to make. And pajamas. I mean, some things as sewists we can make quite quickly. Other things, like a jacket, it's a longer process. But I do like making, now that my sewing has improved since I've retired because I've been doing more of it. So I do like to push myself a little bit and go for harder patterns.
That's kind of like your stretch target is what we used to call it.
Yes, yeah. With a garment, trying to learn, a new skill with each garment. Sort of lining a jacket, used to think, I couldn't do that, but I can. And I just get so much enjoyment when you bag out a coat and it's like giving birth. The jacket and the lining separate and wrap around each other the other way. So it's, yes, very exciting.
Yeah. As you said, it's a labor of love, takes time, but it's beautiful when it's finished.
Yes. And because my wardrobe is now quite well established with things I've made, I can wear something I've made every day. I don't need to be making as many of those basics, and I can try something a little more challenging.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, yeah. So I do like buying patterns from New Zealand designers. So not just Papercut, we've got the Sewing Revival here.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that they were from New Zealand.
Yeah, they're from just down the road in Nelson, and Paper Theory down in Dunedin. In fact, this is a Paper Theory LB pullover I'm wearing. It's very cozy.
We'll have to put a photo of that on the blog post too.
Oh, okay.
Or at least some of your LB pullovers, because they're quite popular.
They are very popular, yes. It's interesting. I follow people who are in the UK and I see them wearing them when we're in our summer clothes. And then, no. So, and this Me Made May has been a real swap of seasons because we started off in sort of t-shirts and shorts at the beginning of the month almost. And now we're into winter clothes. And in the UK, they were very much wearing winter clothes at the start of May, it seemed. And now we're seeing summer frocks come out.
Maxine, with all the sewing that you do you also sew for the community as well?
I sew for the Cancer Society a bit and for angel gowns. Yeah, I get given wedding gowns and I turn them into gowns for babies that, don't make it. But I'm not doing that every day. I'm doing that a few times a year, I guess, and making heart cushions for post-mastectomy women for the Cancer Society. But I do that quietly in the background. I've listened to many of your podcasts and you do it very well.
Thank you.
And after 400 and how many?
430.
Yeah, yeah. You've got it down to a fine art.
Thank you.
You've talked to a lot of people.
Yeah. And talking to them, especially during COVID, really saved me.
Okay.
And I know that people who have listened to the podcast have appreciated hearing those people in their sewing room. So it hasn't just been a selfish endeavor. It's provided something for everybody.
I think the sewing community and the podcasts and Sew Over 50, now I've got time to do it. It's probably saving me in my retirement a bit too, keeping me interested and connected, because you can get quite isolated when you finish work, if you don't make that effort.
I agree. I actually spoke to a career counsellor after I finished to get an idea of what you do next and how you stay connected with people. And that's a really important part of finishing work full time.
Yes. When I still had a good income, I bought quite a bit of fabric ready for this time. So I had still got quite a bit of it, a nice stash of fabric to look at. And I'm thinking now, do I look at the fabric and then choose a pattern to go with that fabric? Or do I look at a pattern out of my stash and think, what can I make that out of? Which can come first? And I guess either can come first.
What advice would you give someone who is about to start to retire and they sew? What advice would you give them?
I think to give it a go, to try different things and to know you've got a bit of time to build on that skill base that you've got. Maybe start with some things that are going to really work, because you don't want to start on a big garment, complicated garment, and then you have a fail and it's going to put you off. So things that are going to work and achievable, and then build on that. It took me a while to find my style and find what clothes and shapes worked for me. But now I feel quite confident that I can choose a pattern and know that it will work. I still have a few failures. There's a particular jumpsuit that's meant to fit everybody and work wonderful on everybody, and I made it, and no no. So achievable things to start with, and enjoy it, of course. I mean, that's why we sew, isn't it? Because we get pleasure and a feeling and of achievement and enjoyment from making things and seeing what we've worn on our own bodies, and if you want to sew for family and friends, what they wear too.
And it's been really good that you've also gone and learnt another skill, which was knitting, and it's reinforced how not everyone learns the same way.
Yes.
While you've got an existing skill, there's nothing to stop you from trying a new skill or a new hobby.
Exactly. And I think I've taken till I'm in my 60s, till I've got enough patience and time to actually sit and get knitting needles out. But I'm enjoying it.
Good.
Yes, and I'm enjoying not just connecting with people in the over 50s community on Instagram too, some younger people. There's a person down in Dunedin who I connect with quite regularly. I think that keeps me a bit more youthful.
Lovely.
Yes, and I'm so looking forward to seeing her at Frockdale's.
Oh, good.
Yes,
Yeah.
we're looking forward to catching up again. So, I guess I'm just really grateful for the people who post regularly, who inspire me, because I've found so much inspiration from Instagram. And I think people like Sheila O'Kelly and Corrie's Fancy Goods, I mean, these were some of the people I started looking at when I first started, and they're regular posters and have lots of inspirational things on their sites. So people like that really inspired me to get going in the beginning.
Corey, she's put up quite a few posts that are quite thoughtful around shape and choosing designs and being visible. Same with Sheila, and I've loved Sheila's tutorials. They're very good.
They are, yes.
Yeah.
So you can find what you need to on Instagram.
That's right. Maxine, thank you for coming onto the podcast today for Sober 50. I've really enjoyed chatting with you, and hopefully one day we can touch base in real life.
Well, maybe. I'm in Sydney later in the year.
Are you?
My husband is retiring end of August, and he's got 3 cousins in Australia. So we're going to go and do a bit of visiting and spend some time over there.
All right.
But do come to New Zealand. Yes. Thank you very much for, out of 49,000, thinking that you'd like to talk to me. And I really appreciate that. And hopefully somebody gets something out of what I've had to share.
Thank you for allowing us to have your images on Sober 50 stories during May, because sharing the smaller accounts has been one of those things that in the background we've really enjoyed finding people. So I'm hoping that people will enjoy listening to your story as well.
Thank you.
Thanks, Maxine.
All right. Nice talking with you.
Lovely to meet you and lovely to chat to you today.
Okay. Thanks, Maria. Bye now.
Bye-bye. This episode of Sober 50 podcast on So Organised Style was produced by me, Maria Theoharis, with permission of Maxine, sound by bensound.com. Many thanks for the ongoing support of the podcast Patreon contributors. I hope you'll join them. Go to patreon.com/So Organised Style, that's organised with an S, to join them in supporting the running of So Organised Style podcast. Their ongoing support enables me to produce these podcasts for free. You can subscribe to So Organised Style podcast, but with an S, not a Z, on all good podcast apps. Make sure you go back and listen to our free Sober 50 podcast archive on So Organised Style. Make sure you direct message Sandy and the editors at Sober 50 on Instagram to contribute to the ongoing posts, challenges and guest editorial spots to promote the community of over 49,000 followers. We look forward to joining you in your sewing room next time. Stay safe, everyone.